keep an eye on Austin because, again, I mean, you get closer and closer to the draft. You want to be able to know what you're doing if you're some of these organizations.
No, without a doubt. Bucky, like where? I mean, and let's assume that Deshaun Watson's innocent. This whole thing blows over, and we're start talking about Deshaun Watson, whether he wants to leave or not. Where Deshaun Watson sits right now, because I share the philosophy that I think Deshaun Watson has a lot more power than the Houston Texans, because he has the trump card to say, you know what, if the NFLPA is going to allow me to sit out a year and opt out, I'm going to do that. And then essentially what's going to happen is Deshaun Watson sitting out, and then we have to go through the whole thing next year again if they don't trade him away. So do you feel like the Houston Texans have more power than Deshaun Watson, or do you think Deshaun Watson has the power right now?
The Texans have all the power. Like, Deshaun doesn't have any power when it comes to this. He has a no-trade clause, which is cool, but he doesn't have any power when it comes to it because all the money has been paid out to him. He won't receive another dime until the regular season starts. So unless he is willing to sit out and take a hard sit out, then he can do it. But, like, it doesn't necessarily hurt the Texans. The Texans basically signed Tyrod Taylor as an insurance policy. So if Deshaun wants to sit out and not collect money, that's his prerogative. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Texans have to relinquish his rights and trade him away because he doesn't want to play. I think if you're the Texans, you have a 25-year-old franchise quarterback, those don't come along. You hold on to your quarterback, especially because he's coming off his best season and he's only 25. Yeah, no, you play this out. You have to play hardball with Deshaun Watson in this situation.
That's what Houston publicly has said they're going to do. Bucky Brooks with us here on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Brent Martineau, we got a couple former Jags players here. Former Jag Austin Lane, co-host of the show. Former Jag Bucky Brooks as well. So, hey, you guys haven't been any part of reunion or anything, right, with the Jags? We've got to get one of those together.
Yeah, not yet. No reunion yet, but maybe soon.
I'm just trying to get back in the press box, Brent. One step at a time, man. Let's go.
Hey, Bucky, I know you do some work with Jaguars.com. And by the way, apologies for JP Shadrick, John Ogier, and the rest of them that you have to deal with all the time over there. But you do a fantastic job. What's your take on what Urban Meyer, Trent Baalke, and the Jags did the last week?
Well, I mean, I think there was a common theme. Urban kind of let us know how he was going to go about the process where they talked about familiarity in the position room. And you saw a lot of connections to the coaching staff and the front office staff with the guys that they signed. They want to know who they're bringing in because they're trying to change the culture. They're trying to create a different competitive environment in the locker room. And so I don't think it was a coincidence that these guys that have been brought in, the prominent free agents, have some tie to some of the coaches on the staff. And so now it's about figuring it out, putting it together, figuring out who you're going to take. Like, we presume that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the pick at quarterback, but what other marquee draft picks can you bring in? It's a lot. It's a work in progress, but I certainly like what Coach Meyer and Baalke are doing.
Were you surprised how Urban Meyer's kind of handled the press conferences so far? Because I sure was. I thought I had a preconceived notion of what Urban Meyer was going to bring to the table, and I thought it was going to be a guy in his first year that was going to keep things close to the chest, not divulge any information. But I think Urban Meyer's done a great job of keeping fans in the loop a little bit and keeping fans up to date. Do you feel the same way, or did you expect this from him coming out of college?
No, I kind of expected it from him. I think once he got into the media world and once he lived that life, I think he understands what it's about. I also think what he's trying to do is he's trying to build a brand in Jacksonville. And that brand, the bigger the brand, the more appealing it is to future players. And so he wants it to be a big deal. And remember, he's a megastar. He's won at every level. Like, he's won at college at every stop. He understands that there's a lot of light that's on him. And I think as a competitor, he is okay with that. So I didn't think he was going to be, like, reserved and shy and secretive. I think he wants everyone to understand what could be down in Jacksonville. He wants Jacksonville to be very appealing because he talked about it. He wants it to be a destination. He wants it to be a destination for free agents. He wants draftees to want to aspire to play there. And so he's trying to build a brand. And so the way that you do it is you're transparent and you kind of feed the frenzy of the fans to let them know, like, hey, we're going to do great things here in Jacksonville. I think that's what he's trying to do.
Bucky Brooks with us here on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Follow along on Twitter with Bucky at Bucky Brooks, B-U-C-K-Y, Brooks. And Bucky is also the host of the Move the Sticks podcast along with Daniel Jeremiah. And we love the work DJ does as well with NFL Network. Bucky, how fast can they get this thing cooking because of Trevor Lawrence alone. Obviously, Urban doesn't like to lose. He's going to try to win and win quickly, but sometimes turning around 1-15 can take some time. How much is this fast-tracked, in your opinion, because of Trevor?
Well, I mean, I think Trevor's an excellent player, excellent prospect, but I don't think they're going to put it all on Trevor. I think the mistake that will be made if we think that Trevor Lawrence is going to wipe away a decade of futility just because he shows up. That's not it. The way that I describe Trevor is Justin Herbert plus. Whatever you saw from Justin Herbert with the Chargers this year, I think they're very, very similar, but I believe Trevor is a little more electric in terms of the way that he plays and those things. I think it's really important that the pieces around him are right. The offensive line, which they did a good job of keeping that intact, that they figure out a way to have a running game so Trevor doesn't have to throw it 40 times a game his rookie season. If they can manage the game and kind of keep him where the pitch count is anywhere 25 to 35 pass attempts a game, they got playmakers on the outside, and if they can get the defense up to snuff, I think being close to 6-7 wins rookie season would be great, because then it sets you up to really have a major jump in the second year.
But before you came on the show, we were talking about a little bit of, the importance of a backup quarterback and what does that mean to the growth and development of your primetime guy coming in like Trevor Lawrence. And I believe that, if they choose to keep Gardner Minshew, that's fine. I think Trevor Lawrence is good enough where he doesn't need, a veteran backup quarterback to teach him things. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to kind of learn on the fly and show off his skill set. Like, do you want to see a guy like Alex Smith or someone experienced come in and kind of show him the ropes a little bit? Or do we put too much stake sometimes in the veteran backup quarterback where it's like, if this guy's good, he's going to be good regardless of who he has backing him up?
No, you need a veteran behind him that can teach him how to play. I think Alex Smith, I'm on record saying Alex Smith to me is the perfect one, not only because Alex has lived that life and walked in his shoes, he's been a former number 1 overall pick. He's played for Coach Meyer at Utah. He struggled early in his career before finding his way. He mastered the art of winning, because when you look at the last 5 to 7 years, all he did was win. San Francisco, Kansas City, and even with the Washington football team, he's a winner. And so I would like someone in the room to show Alex how to go about the preparation process, how to think about the game, how to focus more on the little things that lead to wins more so than the individual honors. I would rather go that route than to have like Gardner Minshew or a young quarterback in the quarterback room who couldn't necessarily offer the same kind of wisdom that Alex Smith would be able to.
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of I don't disagree with you either. I like the Alex Smith or a veteran guy. I just don't know if we're going to get that. I'm not convinced we're going to see that in Jacksonville. Bucky Brooks with us here, NFL Network analyst on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 here on a Friday afternoon. All right, let me leave you with this one. The wide receiver market has been a strange one, Bucky. Juju Smith-Schuster, only a one-year deal to Pittsburgh. Have you been a bit surprised at the lack of movement, lack of big deals with the wide receivers in the NFL? And is that just a result of so much depth the last couple of years and even this coming year in the draft?
I think it's a byproduct of a couple of things. I think the wide receivers that were on the market, I don't know if they struck me as superstars that would command that kind of money, like big-time money. I didn't see them as Odell Beckham Jr. types, Michael Thomas types. I don't think they had those kinds of resumes. I think you had a lot of guys that you were projecting to go from the number 2 role to the number 1 role, which is why you saw Juju Smith-Schuster sign for the deal that he signed, because he only averaged 8 yards a catch. Like, how much money are you willing to fork over for someone who doesn't necessarily move the chains consistently or isn't a big play threat? But they also are hampered by the fact that I believe wide receivers are just like running backs. Like, there's been this movement to not draft a running back in the first round. I don't believe you need to draft a wide receiver in the first round because there's so many. You can find them on day 2. You can find guys on day 2 that can come into the league immediately and start. Michael Thomas, A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, the list goes on and on and on. And because teams are realizing that you can find these playmakers at every level of the draft that can hit it right away, I think they're saying we're not going to pay veterans unless you are a star at wide receiver. And we may not commit a top draft pick to you because we know that we can find someone that can come in and make an immediate impact, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a first rounder.
Bucky Brooks, NFL Network analyst. You going to keep up the work with Jaguars.com this upcoming season?
Yeah, I hope so. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun reconnecting with the Jags.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll be able to listen to you and watch you there as well. Here's the deal. Here's a little bit of advice, Bucky. and I know you don't know us well. You can hang out with JP and John Ogier and those guys, but if you're going to the bar, you might want to come with us. Those guys have alligator arms.
I'll remember that. I'll make sure I ask JP and those guys about that as well.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, man. Have a great weekend. Enjoy it. We appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks so much.